What's up, everyone? Good morning again. It's your host, Carlos Ponce from Tucson, Arizona, and this is another live episode of Advancio Talks. And if you are just discovering us, well, welcome to the show. But if you've been here since the beginning, you know what we're about. So, Advancio Talks is where we sit down with the people actually building the future of business and technology. Not just talking about it, but doing it. CTOs, founders, the folks actually making decisions that matter. So, whether you're drinking coffee, commuting, or just curious about what's actually happening in tech, well, stick around because today we have Paul Maguire. He is the CEO of Medular.com with us today. Welcome, Paul. So thank you for being with us. And so stick around because Paul has got stories and insights you won't hear anywhere else. I promise you that. So let's jump right in and welcome to the show, Paul. So let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about you and your background, your story, why you're here.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, first of all. And I won't dwell too much on my past. But I've been in the software business now for 40 years, and I've always worked with venture-backed companies.
Hmm.
I've held roles of VP of worldwide sales, marketing, worldwide business development. In the past 25 years, I've been a CEO of
Hmm.
venture-backed companies. And I think if there's a theme that runs through everything I've done, and I've also managed a consulting company for the past several years. It's really helping companies define and dominate their unique markets. That was kind of our tagline. And that's what I've always lived by. That's been my job, is
Hmm.
to try to define and dominate. And I think as we go through the conversation, you'll see how that past kind of wove its way into what Medula is and who we serve.
Excellent. Great. Thanks for elaborating a little bit about you and your journey. Now let's tell us about Medular. What is the value prop? What are you solving? What's the story behind Medular?
Yeah, I mean, like so many companies, it's been kind of a stepped evolution.
Hmm.
Really, in the beginning, Medular was trying to solve the data silo problem. We've
Okay.
been around for a while, and companies had information that were stored in public sources, private sources, and even paid sources. It was all over the place. And so
Hmm.
we really did the first major product we had was a federated search. And it was the ability to search up to 70 different applications in real time. And for those of you out there listening, there's a difference between enterprise search, which means we boil the ocean and we have an index to get you anywhere,
Hmm.
versus federated search is real time. It says, hey, I don't own all this data, right? I have a subscription somewhere. I have data stored somewhere. I don't want someone to index my data, but I want to access it. So all of us have usernames and passwords. And what Medula did with search, it says, hey, in this case, Carlos, I've got your username and password. You can search once and find everything that you have connected in parallel. And
Hmm.
that was the first thing. And so the first problem was, can I get to all of your silos? And then the next thing was bringing information back. And that was the second problem that really Medula solved, which is this whole notion of collection. So if things are scattered all over the place, the
Hmm.
last thing you want to do is scatter them back.
Right.
So you got to want to get those in one place. And that was really what we did is we started to be able to collect things, but
Mhm.
it's how and where we collected them. And another problem we solved, and I think we're still solving it actually, is not just collecting information in a human readable form, but spaces, collecting these pieces of information that inform a decision.
Hmm.
And we'll talk obviously a lot about AI today. But when we collect information into a space, it becomes a source of truth. Okay. And I think this is a theme that we really need to dissect a little bit.
Yeah.
Because if we look at the ability for you to search all of your data and you say, oh wow, I've got all this, I want to search this, I want to interrogate this. It's mine. I trust it. It's a source of truth. You put it there. In the early days and even the current days of using artificial intelligence, we're all familiar with the word hallucination. And I really think that stems from the models using other people's information.
Mm-hmm.
to inform a decision, a problem, a challenge that you're facing. So it's more generic in nature. And so when we say it's hallucinating, it was really trying to decipher the information that it has in all of its repositories.
Mm-hmm.
And what Medulla did, we helped individuals collect and curate a source of truth. But we did something else too, which is the next problem, which is, do you trust it? I
Mm-hmm.
was in consulting for years. All of us that work for private companies or public are dealing with what might be sensitive or confidential information, things that we don't want the rest of the world to have.
Right.
And I think that's what we've been able to do is we have built a tool for professional service workers, for consultants,
Mm-hmm.
many of which that sign an NDA, many of which risk reputational damage if any of the information from a client got out in the open. And so you've asked about the problem we solve, and the problem was they've been paralyzed. A lot of these companies that sign an NDA, especially lawyers, I love lawyers, my son's one, but it's like the third rail. I am not putting any of this information
Mm-hmm.
into an AI model, which
Okay.
means they can't get the benefit of it.
Right.
And really, as we go through this conversation, I hope to kind of peel that onion back on
Mm-hmm.
what has Medulla brought to the table? Who do we empower that in the past may have been hesitant to put the toe in the water?
Okay. Okay. That's a fascinating story, and definitely something that I definitely look forward to learning more about through the course of the conversation. Because I was reading about Medular and about your background, and I did, come up with a bunch of questions that I'll be asking you. But before we go there, I do know that we have a topic. We have a topic for today. We have a theme for today, right?
Yeah.
So today we're going to be talking about from insight to impact. So turning trusted knowledge into action. So my first question, I mean, I can't help it. My first question is, why did you think that this particular topic was relevant for today's day and age?
Yeah. I mean, as I look at it, from insight to impact, I think the very definition of insight is you're seeing into something that sits on the surface and you don't see it. A lot of times, I always love the concept of trends. If you have one data point, you have nothing. If you have two data points, you still have nothing. By the time the third one does, now I have a trend. I need enough data to establish a bit of a trend. And from those trends, I think are born insights,
Mm-hmm.
right? So once you have some insights, and a lot of those insights are, why is my company going sideways? How do I solve this problem, right? And so I think when you take all of the problems and even the failed attempts and you put them into a space, and then we have the ability to use artificial intelligence to interrogate that. Um, AI has an unique ability. It has no emotion. It really doesn't have human wisdom, but it has something that none of us have. And
Mm-hmm.
that is a perfect memory. It ingests everything and it knows everything. It doesn't read them, it turns them into numbers and vectors. And
Mm-hmm.
it has an uncanny ability to take those three data points that formed a trend. And now you can say, what insights can I gather from this trend?
Right.
I have put the information in. I'm still curious about how to solve or address it. But
Mm-hmm.
artificial intelligence has the ability to go ahead and connect all of the dots, if you will, or the numbers
Right.
to get these patterns. And then if I look at the screen here, that's insight into impact. If you get insights, well, guess what? You've hit the last station on the AI train.
Mm-hmm.
It
Right.
doesn't talk to your customers. It doesn't operate on your patients. It doesn't conduct litigation in front of a judge for you. Humans do that.
Right.
And what I hope to be able to do with Medular is to enable these professionals to gather enough information and to put not just one, but many artificial intelligences at the exact same table. And I have a saying, have you ever gone into a meeting that's very important and private and somebody says, hey, Carlos, close the door? I say, when you say close the door, open Medular, because we're about to talk about something. I want artificial
Mm-hmm.
intelligence under an NDA.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what we're able to do. And so it says turning trusted knowledge into action.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, just read the other way, rephrase it. Turn
Mm-hmm.
untested, unknown knowledge into action.
Into
Well, that's a
action.
dog chasing his tail,
Yeah.
right? So if you have the ability to trust but verify and you gather information, you control a source of truth in a medular space. And then you invite artificial intelligences, but other humans. And this is really a differentiator for medular. We really have been the tip of the spear when it comes to allowing many people at the same time collaborate in the same space. So we're using Claude or Grok, or we're using Claude, certainly ChatGPT, and imagine them as artificial intelligences at a table, but we have 4 or 5 or 6 other humans. Here's how we learn. When the smartest person in a room or at a table asks a question, everybody at the table enjoys the benefit of that answer. That's what happens when we can collaborate with very smart people, humans, very capable artificial intelligences, and we can see the chats and the queries that each of us are asking. But we see something else, because that's the way humans work, is we jog a memory and say, hold on, I have a file, I have a report, I have a data point that's very relevant to our conversation. It can inform a better answer. Allow me to search it, collect it, and bring it into the medular space. Now it's for everyone. And when we do that, we extract the knowledge from documents. We do not capture the document. That's why
Mhm.
people trust us. My CTO explained it to me once. He said, Paul, you might have a 30-page document that's in print, and anybody on this meeting here can read it.
Mhm.
But when we embed it using an AI model, it becomes unreadable by a human. We just extract the knowledge so that document can interact with other documents and data points. Medular does this in a very safe and secure and private way. So
Mhm.
that's how we kind of unlock that closed door for a lot
Okay.
of professional service workers and consultants.
Okay.
So we're pretty excited about it.
Cool. Yeah, that's so interesting. And well, since we're talking about AI, this is what I'm hearing is medular is described as, and I'm going to quote unquote, simple, powerful, and effective. But AI platforms often struggle to be all three at the same time. So how do you actually deliver on that promise?
It's great because you know that old saying, easy to tell, easy to sell,
Right.
right? Well, easy to use is easy to keep using,
Uh huh.
right? So we'll take that first thing. It's simple. The best solutions are pretty simple. A lot of people, I mean, look at there's nothing more simple than the Google blinking cursor that says, asking if you want, it would find it for you.
Hmm.
Now, artificial intelligence, with a similar blinking cursor, ask me anything you want. It's very simple. So the first thing is has to be really simple. And I think we strive to be really simple and powerful at the same time. And you
Hmm.
can do that. And then, you say, hey, what's powerful? Um, Here's what's powerful to me, and I'm using it every day. I use my own tools. We drink our own champagne, as they say.
Hmm.
Um, Human and artificial intelligences that can sit at the same table at the same time. I think that's really where the magic happens. And you've seen it ever since AI came out. We started hearing about it in 2024. They said, it was, is AI going to take my job? And it was said, no, the answer is, here's the answer. If you don't know how to use AI, there's a good chance it'll take your job.
Hmm.
If you learn how to use it and leverage it, then it won't.
Hmm.
And I think that's where we live. And I think that's what Medulla tries to empower people to do. Um, it's not AI without a human. To me, that's half the coin.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's when AI and human intuition come together. And I use AI constantly. And if I use it to craft something or write something for me, it goes through its iterations, but it runs out of gas really quick. It just gives you the same answer back and back and back. I said, well, that's not what I wanted.
Hmm.
It's at that point that I take that draft, I put down the cursor, and I pick up my pen and I
Okay.
start writing. I start pulling from my own experience. I start to blend the very best of human and artificial intelligences together. And
I
that's really our goal. That's what we're here for.
Okay, okay. And I'm curious, how does Medular fit into a company's existing tech stack? Like this, does it replace tools or complement them?
Well, I mean, it's a great question because, yep, I just blanked out there for a minute. If you look at how we work, any technology, I don't care what the industry is, there's always an incumbent technology.
Hmm.
And so if something new is in there, whether it was Salesforce coming to the marketplace saying no software, and they took information out of the databases and they put it on a web server and they said no software, you can put it in our web, and they introduced SaaS for the first time.
Hmm.
Um, they wouldn't have existed if they didn't have that first data to pull it in. And Medular sits on top. We sit on top of 70 different applications today. And so you don't even move anything with us. You can say, okay, I want to connect to Dropbox, Box, G Drive. I want to connect to my OneDrive, my SharePoint. I want to use Asana and Monday. And
Hmm.
the list goes on and on. That's where my stuff is. That's the stuff already in the company.
Hmm.
Hey, if you have a username and a password, you can use Medular to get there.
Hmm.
And when I think about how do we coexist with other applications and the tech stack that is there, we're a SaaS tool.
Okay.
We live on a secure cloud under Azure, actually.
Okay.
And so that's really, we wouldn't be able to exist as a company if
Hmm.
we couldn't interact with, connect to, and coexist
I
with the
see.
existing stack. But
Right.
I think we give all that data that lives in the company a new way to convene and to be interacted with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, still with the AI uh, theme is, I mean, we're talking about AI powered insight. So, but let me ask you something. What does AI powered insight actually mean in practice for a day to day user of your platform? Not from your trench, but from as an owner, as a businessman creating Medular, but for the day to day user of your platform, what does AI powered insight actually mean?
Yeah, I mean, let's play with the word powered for a minute. It's AI powered. Is it AI enabled? Is it AI assisted? Um, I think computers don't have insights, humans do, right?
Hmm.
So when we look at the notion of what is insight, who's it for?
Hmm.
The insight is for the human being that is operating a company, conducting a litigation, it's consulting a business on strategy.
Hmm.
AI plays a role, but I just, and I'm sticking to my metaphor. AI has never and probably will never join me in a meeting and sit next to me and say,
Hmm.
well, Paul, you're wrong. No. The minute I walk away from that computer and I walk in to have human to human interaction, AI has done its job already. And so that's the role I think Medular plays.
Hmm.
We will get you, the human, as prepared as possible, but it's all about you delivering this. You're the one who's supposed to turn the insight into action, right? And that's what I love about what we do. I think, people say, well, what do you do with this thing called Medular? You put all of the important documents into a space and you can talk to them. It's like you hired the world's most capable human being that has a photographic memory and forgets nothing.
Hmm.
And you can ask it any question. Because honestly, everybody that's listening to this is the truth, is statistically, 10 minutes after we hang up, 80% of what was said will be forgotten. And an even greater percent will be forgotten. It says, hey, what was the title of that talk we just saw? Oh, I don't know, it was Insight something. But that's what AI doesn't forget. And that's why I love it. I think AI is an amazing companion if it could be trusted.
Right, right. So, speaking about trust, there are some spaces that are kind of sensitive to certain types of information. For example, uh, fintech and insurtech companies. These companies deal with highly regulated, sensitive data. So, how does Medular handle compliance and data governance?
It's a great question. And I'm going to use a Goldilocks theme. If you're
Mhm.
petrified over this, set up a secure server, Azure or AWS, install the enterprise versions of artificial intelligence, and have your IT team isolate them and air gap them. So the
Uh-huh.
enterprise can use that system in a safe manner and to be in compliance. That's the far right side. The far left side is throw caution to the wind, just put it up there. No one's going to know.
Uh-huh.
In the middle lives Medular. We've done everything we can to use encryption techniques and keys and the way to chunk up a document so we can just embed pieces of it, but
Mm-hmm.
never expose the whole. So what we're really doing, if you look at the SMBs in the world, 80 to 90% of all businesses fall into the SMB category. And so if they don't have the resources to do the first thing I discussed, and they have the intelligence and the wisdom not to do the latter, which is throw caution to the wind, where do they go? And I think that's where Medulla comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And we could talk all day
Yeah.
about, is any server in the world protected? Is the US government servers protected from
Mm-hmm.
hacking?
Right.
I think I live in the world of controlled risk. I can't leave my, building here
Right.
without some element of risk. But I look both ways and I drive carefully and do the speed limit, right? And so I think what Medulla is bringing to the marketplace, and once they get to know us and trust us, it's been said we only buy from people we trust.
Right.
Well, I only put confidential information into a platform that I trust.
Right.
And that's what we're seeking to do as a company, earn the trust of several people. And then that's what our brand is built upon,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's,
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Bezos said, your brand is what people say about you when you leave the room.
Right.
We all hope it's good. And I want people to say, I trust Medulla. I trust that tool to put this information in. And so when it comes to SOC 2 or compliance or ISO and all of those things, I think at the end of the day, they represent best practices, but there are still people that are doing it wrong. There's still risk and liability.
Yeah.
Um, and so in an imperfect world, I think we've provided the marketplace with a tool that they can use comfortably. And you know what? Use your own judgment. If there's a sensitive document, you say, I don't want anyone to see this anywhere ever. I'm going to burn this thing as soon as I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then don't put that in. But there are other categories of information. So that's really, I think there's a massive gap in the market right
Right.
now. To do what I do every day with Medulla is to sit there and put what I consider sensitive information. And I can put this in and I get the benefit of sitting at a table with multiple artificial intelligences to give me really good insights that
Mm-hmm.
I can choose which ones apply and I can put those into action that day.
Right.
That's what we do.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And speaking of other companies, so what have you discovered that are the biggest misconception that companies have about AI powered insight platforms before they even try one? Have you encountered that situation?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. We use Medulla, and we have active clients, and we were working on a case the other day. It's a legal case,
Mm-hmm.
and we invited one of the attorneys that were naturally very hesitant about going in. But I happened to know the group that had hired this attorney and said, no, we want all of these documents. So it was like 95 documents about a particular case. And I
Mm-hmm.
put it all in and I gained great insights from it. And
Mm-hmm.
then the group had said, hey, we'd like our attorneys, there were three of them, we said, we'd like the attorneys to have access to this. And the first one said, oh, I can't touch it. Let me get back to you tomorrow. And he came back almost like a little kid that was told by his mother that you can go with Carlos tomorrow. He said, hey, they said I can use it. My IT group looked at it and they said, I can go ahead and use this Medulla space. And honestly, he was pretty blown away because he said, hey, I want you to interrogate this 30-page document that's on the bylaws of something. And I
Mm-hmm.
want you to give me a one-page summary. And it did it in a few seconds, as
Yeah.
AI does. I mean, again, we had the document, but we used ChatGPT to interpret all that.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, you know what? Even for most highly trained lawyers, they could not have done that. They would not be able to gather the insights from this document And I just saw it happen in a matter of minutes or seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, for the people that are just learning to use artificial intelligence, I think there is a level of apprehension that's
Mm-hmm.
warranted. And, if you talk to anybody that really used it, they started seeing how to write a really good query.
Right.
Google would, you type whatever you want in Google. It was very, linear, but you can query and say, hey, I want you to go ahead and search this document. I want you to extract all the relevant points. And I would like you to put that in language that would resonate with an attorney and a judge. I don't want this sugar coated. I want the facts, and I want this to be litigation room ready. And it'll do it. And I think that's what they have to learn
Mm-hmm.
is who you're sitting with at this table with Medular.
Mm-hmm.
These are really capable artificial intelligences and humans um, that you can start to do it. So I think we're all on that continuum
Mm-hmm.
of what is AI, and now it just gets better every week, and they're leapfrogging each other every week.
Right.
But the real thing is, it comes that first thing we talked about. Will AI take your job? No, it won't. If you know how to use it, it won't. And
Mm-hmm.
I think with a product like Medular, you learn how to use it. And the more you use, for instance, my favorite thing with Medular is there's a microphone.
Mm-hmm.
And I start talking to my spaces. Right? I just do it.
Mm-hmm.
I ask these very long questions. And then he comes back. And then I said, well, you know what? You kind of went off on me on that one. I don't agree with you, first of all. And I do, boy, you want to have fun with AI? I said, I don't think you're right. Everybody should do that. I
Yeah.
challenge your response. It'll always come back and say, well, Carlos, you were correct in challenging my response. As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, I gave you the fastest answer I could because I'm programmed to give you a quick answer and not make you wait too long.
Uh-huh.
If
Yeah.
you'd like me to really dive deep, I'll get more data and I'll put more points on the path and I'll give you a better response.
Great. Great.
Nebula does that too. We have deep research.
But
Said,
by
I
the
want the
way,
answer 15 minutes from now, right? I don't want it right now. Don't give me the quick one. Give me the right one.
uh-huh. Right, right. But that's a kind of a good, great segue into the next question that I have for you because I'm wondering what's the one insight that Nedular has surfaced for a client that genuinely surprised you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll try to pick one. It was probably the first one where I was on a board of directors for a company and they were engaged in an IP suit. They were suing another company for patent infringement. And my client, who was also the founder and CTO of this company, who had been working with me with Medular, he was an early adopter. And I said, hey, do you feel comfortable enough about using Medular on this case? He said, well, hold on. The judge said no use of public AI at all. You can't divulge this. And he said, well, this isn't public. Medular is sealed. He said, so I'm going to take 50 hours of deposition, all the transcript, and put them in.
Mm-hmm.
And then he took thousands of documents and records. And what happened during the case, each side, plaintiff and defendant, was asked, the judge would say, I want the following information. My user was able to go in and get it, cite where it came from. It was properly formatted. It was crisp and it was fast. And he passed it right to the judge.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, the defendant took about a week or two, sent them 20 pages of information. And this is a quote from the judge. He said, listen, I asked a question of the plaintiff and I got a crisp answer. I asked the exact same question of you, and you started treating judges like truffle pigs looking for information in vast documents. That's not what we do as judges.
Uh-huh.
And my client won the preliminary injunction. And so it was the ability to demonstrate you know what you're talking about. You have the source right there, source of truth. And my answer is validated because I was the curator, right, and the validator of the content of a space which it was informing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really where we're going. That's what I always wanted to be able to give somebody the tool that I use. I wish I had this thing 20 years ago. I
Uh-huh.
really do. It used to take me 3, 4, 5 months to work on a corporate strategy, brand development, exercise. And I took my IP and I put it in my space, and it was taking my unique knowledge and my intellectual property that I never shared with anyone,
Hmm.
but the space fully understood it, and I was able to apply it to new scenarios, new problems, new companies. And that's really where I became basically a fan of my own
Right.
product. I
Right.
said, wait a minute, I can take my IP that I don't want anyone to have, and I can put that in. But I can
Hmm.
take the intellectual property of other people and people that wrote books on how to do things, and I could pull that in. And I would say, you know, you know, yeah, how would you know a CEO of a Fortune 100 answer this question, right? Or I could take an individual
Hmm.
and sit there and say, hey, if I wanted to go ahead and invest in something, I can say, hey, I want you to take the Berkshire Hathaway philosophy and everything that they have, Munger and, uh, geez, I'm drawing a blank right now, which I shouldn't. Um, what was the best advice from these people that I really respected, right? And put that into a space. And what happens is the people I invited to my medular space, in many cases, know a lot more about me and have a lot more experience.
Hmm.
And that's the insight. You've heard the saying, you know what you know. If you want to learn something, you love to talk about what you don't know.
Right.
The most powerful of all is you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
That's insight. You don't know what you don't know. And I think that happens a lot when we start to use tools like this, AI and Medula combined, is these are my records, these are my documents, and this is my problem, this is my situation. But I'm asking an artificial intelligence, what am I missing? They bring theirs and I see something new. So basically they said, you don't know what you don't know, Paul, but I'm going to fix it.
Hmm.
That's what I love about it. And I invite, all of you listeners to give it a shot. I mean, we're looking for people in professional services and consulting. They've really been on the sidelines till now. And they should be there on the sidelines until it's safe to
Yeah.
get on the field.
Absolutely. And you actually offer a free trial, right? So,
Yeah, you bring it up. You must have looked at my website a while ago. We were doing free trials, and yes, if somebody wants to try it for free, we can go there. I
yeah.
don't advocate that anymore
Yeah.
because
Oh,
it comes down to you want to use a tool you've never heard of before, you've never done this before, and you want to give it a shot yourself. It's like saying, "Hey, it's a Ferrari. Here are the keys." Um, I prefer pilots. I like to do pilots with clients
right.
to say, all right, I'm a consulting company. I want to get in. I've heard what you've said. I have one use case. It's real. It's not fictive. That's what I like. I like real world. Why waste our time
Right.
on hypotheticals? If somebody has a real problem that they said, I'd like to subject to this, I would like to work with them. And that's how we'll be going forward. We'll probably become a services and software type of company.
Hmm.
And I think, it's like you bought the skis, but did you buy the lessons?
Right. Right.
I think you buy both, right? At least for one, until you won't hurt yourself. So for me, the new model is yes, it is free. Yes, you can use it with us, but I would like some kind of a commitment for those people to say, hey, is there a real world use case? Is there a problem we're trying to solve? And
Hmm.
will you work with us to get the most out of this tool in the shortest period of time? Because it
Absolutely.
comes back, what was the return on investment? You know, if somebody said to me, you know what, and this is true, this was the board member that I worked with on another opportunity. And we had both been on the same board. I was there 15 years. He was there for 10. And I dumped everything in for the company.
Hmm.
And he came back to me within an hour. He said, listen, you're not going to believe this, but I've just learned more about the company we have been on the board for 10 and 15 years. I learned more in an hour than I learned in 15 years. That's insight.
Hmm.
And it has led to tremendous actions. We're still working on it. And
Yeah.
so it's an evolution. It's really, this is how the businesses will operate in the future.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Well,
for sure.
yeah. We're coming up on time. So I would just like to ask you what's next for Medular? Where is the product headed in the next 12 to 18 months?
Yeah, I mean, it's a continuation. What I've said before, we used to have it on our website, is experience all the power of artificial intelligence without all the risk.
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think that's really what over the next 12 months, that's what I am looking for, is to say, hey, if you wanted to experience the power of AI, but you don't like the risk associated with it, then we should talk.
Right.
That's it. I mean, and we continue, our users are constantly giving us feedback, things they want to see and evolve. And really, I didn't mention it. I've done 15 startups. I've done M&A on the buy and sell side. I've done 2 IPOs. This is the fun stage of a company where we are trying to solve a problem that hasn't been solved. And I used to do this in strategy. I would say, if we are capable of blowing a hole below the waterline of a very large ship, we will gain tremendous value.
Right.
And so the goal is, I want to be a type of company that enables people to do something without having to spend a huge fortune, or to allow only the richest companies and only the most capable to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here for the 98%.
Great. That's awesome. So, Paul, unfortunately, we're running out of time. So, but I need to ask you, I mean, for those who are watching now or will be watching in the future, how can they get a hold of you? Can you share your email, your LinkedIn, your website?
Sure. This is my email. It's paul@medular.com. That's
And
us.
I'm just
And thanks. There
there.
you go. It's coming up there. That's the best way to reach me. And our website is medular.com. MEDULLAR.com.
There
That's
you
what
have
it
it,
is.
folks. So you have Paul's email at paul@medular.com. And then we also, of course, have the website, which is medular.com, right? And
Yep.
I assume you are on LinkedIn as well. They find you
Yeah,
as,
on LinkedIn as well. Yeah.
yeah, okay.
So
I
you
think I
can
have
find me
the
there.
handle here, Paul Maguire. There's always those weird numbers that LinkedIn gives you, right? I just still don't get why, but we get those numbers not easy to remember. So just go with paul@medular.com
There you go.
and medular.com. It's all in there, folks. Go in there, reach out to Paul, and he'll be more than happy to fill you in and everything you want to know about the company. That being said, Paul, it's been a great pleasure to have you on the show.
Likewise.
Okay, and stick with me as we go off the air, and the rest of you guys. See you next time, next week, same time, 11 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, with another Advancio Talks show. And stay tuned at advancio.com for the next guest who will be joining us next week. Thank you, and see you next time.
Thank you.